being here. Don't expect it's going to take long, but thought it was important at our last meeting, everybody, the council thought it was important to go over the budget before we approve it in our next meeting, which I think is a good idea. So, you know what, I forgot to call on somebody to pray.
It's your turn anyway.
Yeah.
It is my turn, isn't it? That's why.
I remember this.
So, we do a roll call. Well, I don't have let me get the agenda. I'm kind of informal tonight because it's just, but I think we'll do a roll call first, right?
Brian, is there a reason that says May 19th for the date?
Yeah,
I saw that too.
Oh, that. Well, that's not it. This is it, not what you got.
I don't know,
That's what he knows.
That's why it fits.
Yeah, that's what I got.
And it didn't have anything on the agenda,
You don't need to copy
but I
it.
knew it was, and I knew what it
Somebody
was.
should have called me.
I didn't
I'm gonna make copies.
Okay.
You're fine, I just thought the May 19th and thought, man, there seems to be a lot there that I wasn't anticipating.
You know, we'll just give it a minute, let her make some copies before we proceed.
Groundhog Day, is that what it's called? There's nothing there though.
I know, that's what I noticed that. I saw the purchase orders and quarterly financial review. I thought that's good enough description to talk it into. We're not making any motions tonight. We're just working through the budget, making sure it's where it needs to be for next year's.
Hey, cool, they just said State Health and Emergency Commission recommends we go to smart green phase.
Nice.
What's all smart green?
That means we can get together with masks.
Is that what smart green is?
I don't know, I'm betting that's probably what it is. Smart green, don't shake hands,
What do you mean?
wear masks, and if you're sick, stay home, which should be a given anyway, right?
Well, see,
That should be the norm.
let's, July is sixth.
Thanks, Carolyn.
I figured
You're fine.
Well, except unless, and that's what we do. Well, and that's the thing is who we got to, I mean, we'll talk about that. And we can talk about it later on in our standing committee reports. Okay, thanks Carolyn for getting that for us. This does say the 2021 budget introduction and discussion. So we'll go through the roll call. Councilman Roosevelt.
Here.
Councilman Baird. Here. Councilman Ryden.
Here.
Councilman Allen.
Here.
And Councilman White is excused. He had another commitment. So I'll go ahead and say the prayer, and then if you'll follow me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Our dear Heavenly Father, we come before you this day. We're grateful for the many blessings that thou hast given us, and grateful for health and strength that we enjoy, and that everyone is able to come here tonight. We're grateful for this opportunity we have to discuss the upcoming year and the budget and Roosevelt City's finances. We ask that thy Spirit will guide us and direct us to know how best to utilize the funds that are entrusted with us, and that it may be a benefit to those whom we serve. We're grateful for those that work for the city, for those that put their life on the line and protect us. We ask a blessing upon them and a blessing upon our residents, that as we're going through difficult times, that they will be strengthened, that we can overcome and work through those difficulties that we're facing. We're grateful for all that we have, and again, grateful for this opportunity we have to meet. And again, we pray thy Spirit and blessings upon us this night. Do so in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. With our public comment period, Al, you're the only one here.
Keep up the good work.
Glad to see you here with us. It's been a few weeks, a few months,
A day or two, yeah.
so glad you're here.
I introduced myself.
All right, let's get right into it. 2021 budget introduction and instruction. So we have two of the council and can go to the meeting today. Appreciate you doing that. And Kurt, we'll turn the time over to you. And if you have any insight for us, let us know. See what we're looking at for the year to come.
First of all, thank you. Thank you, Councilman Busenbark and Councilman Baird for this morning. First of all, I wanted to state that normally this process begins in February, but due to the nature of things, didn't really get full force into it till the first part of May. I apologize. I wish I was much more prepared. I commit and promise you in the future that the process will begin much earlier. And there are three parts to our discussion tonight. There is the handout. There's sources of revenue for the general capital projects, debt service, water and sewer funds. And there's to the right of the description, that's the 2020 approved budget and amended budget. That was amended back and reopened, if you will. I refer to it as amendment, and sometimes it's referred to as a reopen. That was last in November. And after going through the finances since then, it's my belief that we need to amend it again. I believe revenues will not come in as originally budgeted. Approximately approximately $250,000 less than anticipated. Primarily, that is going to be a reduction in sales tax revenue. This is not necessarily COVID related. Sales tax is typically 2 months behind. So for sales in March, we often don't see that money till May, sometimes June. So the sales tax we have been receiving since COVID is before COVID, if that makes sense. But still, it was below budget. And as a result, highway utility taxes, those are not typically 2 or 3 months, 2 months behind. They're a little closer, and those are down somewhat, not a great deal. The aquatic center, well, with COVID, their revenue, and the same with the parks and recreation, and not near what was budgeted due to the COVID situation.
On the airport, what's so our anticipated? Sorry, do you mind if we?
Oh no, please ask questions.
So on the airport, the approved budget revenue was 120. We anticipated 120,600, and so far we're at 85,000.
And most of the revenue comes through hangar rentals, fuel sales, and the fuel sales are down significantly. And I haven't had a chance to talk to Howard to find out what he believes that is. So.
I think a part of that will be given the benefit of the doubt, the runway project, shut down and some of those things. So
yeah,
that's probably some of that, I'll bet. But, what about animal control? That just seems like a big difference.
Once again, the revenue generated is not really what it has been. On the expense side, animal control is significantly over budget. We can get into that when we talk about expenses. This hasn't been the revenue.
One of the things that I know we have contracts with
Duchesne County.
Duchesne
And
County.
I became aware of that, so that could very well be a significant difference in this. That's why I'm glad we're having this discussion tonight, so that way I can do some revisions.
One of the things to think about on the airport as well is I can't remember when the airport leases come up, if it's May or June, but that might be one of those. Because I have a hangar out there at the airport, and I don't think I've seen a renewal for that yet.
I'll look when that comes in.
What's that?
I'll have to look at when that comes in.
Okay.
It might be coming up, actually.
Okay.
So that could accommodate for some of that.
Perfect.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I was looking at business licenses through the end of April, and they were significantly down, but then looking through May, there was a lot of revenue that came in from business licenses in May. So these are the types of things that are,
And June, because the renewals June 30th.
and these are the types of things that are really good for me to know, because that's why the discussion is good, so I can't keep up with the notes here. And we did receive, there was no money budgeted for grants, but we received $44,200, or will, before the end of the year. And $20,000 of that was for the BEAR program to provide $1,000 grants to qualifying businesses. Still don't have 20 applicants, we have 13, so there's still $7,000 out there that if an applicant has a current business license and shows proof of or writes a letter discussing how COVID-19 has impacted their business and provides some type of proof, whether it's a mortgage or rent notice, up to $1,000, the city will pay them and then be reimbursed through the governor's office of economic development. I'm really surprised we haven't seen more than that.
And how many have we had so far?
13. A couple of them don't have everything that they need, but I've been in contact with them and said, please provide this. And we actually had 2 provide the additional information just today, so.
How did the businesses know? We contacted them?
We did press release, Facebook,
Okay.
and haven't done any necessary specific outreach to it.
Is this separate than the other money you mentioned this morning?
Yes, that's a separate, and I'll talk about that as well. So, and we have till June 30th, the businesses have till June 30th to apply for those $1,000 grants. So, and once again, the anticipated revisions or the differences for the amended budget, and once again, when I get more information, we can adjust those and go for final approval in a couple of weeks. On the expense side, and I mentioned this morning, and with the changes that have been going on, when Ryan was appointed interim manager, he reiterated to staff, be careful what you spend, be careful. And hindsight being 2020, that's spot on. It's really proven to be important. As I mentioned, the airport here is listed as being over budget by $60,000. That's not the reality, because they've had about $150,000 of capital of expenses to the engineers, and those will be reimbursed by the grant. But because it's within the general fund, and the capital fund's different, that's why it looks that way. So that's $60,000 there, about $130,000, I believe, of that airport expense will be paid by the FAA grant. But once again, for general and other type fund purposes. Animal shelter. Ryan, would you mind explaining a little bit more about what happened with the animal shelter like you did this morning, please?
Okay, so the animal shelter, before this year, Rick, I'm gonna speak highly of Rick on this. He ran the budget. It was all under him, and he kind of controlled it that way. So this year, for the 2020, Ryan kind of wanted them, hey, you guys you have a budget, you need to run it. And if I'm off key here, Rick, please speak up. But anyway, kind of showed a little bit of trust in him. Hey, push him. You guys take care of your department. Well, by doing that, there was a little bit of freelancing, I guess you can call it. So they have went over. I don't know if is it 75 really though?
It's gonna be
What
close.
went over?
It's gonna be close.
It's a lot.
That's a lot.
Did we had any employee or anything that way, or is this just all maintenance expenses?
Yeah, they're over in some of their personnel costs, but primarily it's professional and technical, like we mentioned this morning.
The shots, you mentioned this morning.
Yeah, and Rick and I have talked, and he's been on them too. They've actually slowed down since we talked to him, but after, I think you probably got it now, don't you? Have you talked to him?
Yeah, I'm supposed to meet with her this week again. We're trying to we've never had a real policy out there, procedures. And we're working on one now to try and get a handle on medical expenses mostly.
So just wanted to point that out. And due to other departments not spending, we're not having to increase the budget. We'll just be able to reallocate some of those resources. That's for the general funds. One thing that can be talked about is any additional revenue or anticipated revenue that's not anticipated to be spent can be transferred to a capital projects fund for future use of that money for other projects. It was originally budgeted for a little over $821,000. And to make up for the difference, we'll just reduce the amount of that capital projects transfer. What that can be used for in the future is if the general revenue fund there's not enough money in the general revenue fund, that money can be transferred from the capital projects to make up any shortfall. So it's, in lots of ways, it's a reserve. And with the debt service, with the original budget, it was, and then with the amended budget, there was $471,000 or $470,000 that was budgeted to go to pay off a couple of interest-bearing loans for some streets. That has been completed. That will save the city approximately $40,000 a year in debt payments. So that was budgeted for, and grateful that's there from a financial perspective. It's just another $40,000 that we don't have to budget for debt service. And there are still two loans that are being paid for. There's one for streets improvements, that is interest bearing, and the aquatic center, and those payments are approximately $202,000 next year. So that is in the budget.
So we only have 2 loans outstanding right now?
In the general fund, yeah. In the water and sewer funds.
It's something we're doing pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Because I know some have a lot more than that.
Oh, yeah.
So.
And so, all in all, I'll give credit where credit is due. Ryan and John did a really good job budgeting and saving money. So it's nice to know that in the lean times that there is that, should it really become bad. And in preparing the 2021 budget, as I mentioned in last council, talk about a 10% reduction. And that's what is anticipated and budgeted in the far right column, 10% reduction. I believe I mentioned this at last council, in many ways, we are fortunate versus communities like Vernal and Naples, because the overall percentage of their budget that they rely on for sales tax is much higher. We have nice revenue from property taxes. Roosevelt this year got a little over 1.15 million. Vernal got less than 400,000. So when they get the sales tax drop as anticipated, it really affects them a lot more. So like I said in the last one, if I'm trying to find a positive spin, that's a little bit of a positive spin.
I did have a question from this morning that I thought about, just because I don't know the answer, not that it's a big deal, but I was thinking that with the economy such as it is, there could be people that haven't paid or can't pay their property tax, because you see those lists in the paper periodically. About what is there an average number that we usually anticipate every year that we don't collect because of that?
Well, of that 1.153 million that was budgeted, we collected 1,175,000. Approximately 85,000 of that was delinquent taxes. So
I figured it's a small percentage, but I figured there probably is that, which is, do you have to account for that though in terms of?
Yes, and that's we're at the, we're beholden to Duchesne County on that because they collect it and pay it to us, so.
Go ahead, sorry.
I was just gonna say, and they report all that information to us. We receive information all the time from Stephen Potter, the treasurer of the county.
My question would be, you know, thinking of Vernal City, quite a bit larger population, how is it that we're collecting more property tax than they are?
Their property tax in Union County is much lower than Duchesne County.
Don't say that out loud, 'cause we want people moving over there. But it's a Duchesne County deal.
Yeah,
They
and
have other taxes to make up for it.
yeah, the mineral leader, they don't fund, for example, Vernal doesn't fund their pool, all those things, their streets, it's all done through the special service district. So at least it has been. I was speaking with the city manager yesterday and they're pretty concerned that the mineral lease revenue isn't going to be able to keep the special service district solvent. So it's either going to fall into the hand or in the pockets of the county and or Vernal City and Naples to make up the difference.
So are we unique in our situation with property taxes, or we're actually?
That's difficult for me to answer exactly because I haven't done a lot of investigation.
I figured that.
But we're more common than Vernal is.
Oh, okay.
Uinta County's always had a very, very low property tax rate, but they've had lots of mineral lease revenue as another source, so to offset that.
So we're not out of line is, I guess, the question I was trying to.
I think we haven't raised property taxes in Duchesne for quite some time.
Yeah, when we haven't, and the Roosevelt City Council, we could, if you wanted to, work with the county and raise property, but that requires truth in
I
taxation.
don't want to do that.
Like I said, I'm not advocating it, so I'm just
Well,
saying it is
it
possible.
sounds like we're doing things the right way. We don't need to. And you get enough raises of other things in property taxes, like the school district building new schools and stuff, which I'm not against. I know those are things that you end up paying for, right?
And you as council, you as elected officials, you're the ones who get to answer to the citizens. So
Right.
that's-
No, I'm not.
Anything like that would be.
Well, I
Makes you
think
like-
the good thing is at least if there came a need down the road, that is an option. Obviously, we don't want to use that, but if we needed to.
Yeah, and I was just making that point to say that even though we charge more than Vernal, we still haven't raised those taxes for a really long time.
And I think that's important for people to understand that we haven't done that. I wonder when's the last time they raised them?
I couldn't answer that.
I'd just be curious if anyone knows, because I think those are things we need to make sure people are aware of. We haven't raised taxes in, 20 years or whatever it is. People need to know that, granted,
Now, there is a,
property taxes, house or, property has gone up in value, but if we haven't raised the taxes, I think that's good for people to be aware of.
and I think there's something that we do take advantage of a few years, and that is we can tax the state rate or help me,
Yeah, there's a certified tax rate.
certified tax rate. Now, if we stick with that, and I think before we weren't taxing the certified tax rate. And then I think that was implemented, but you don't have to have a truth in lending or a truth in taxation hearing to do that.
Yeah.
Now, if you go above and beyond that, you do.
I know the school districts have a similar thing with their mill levy. They go so high, but once they reach that max and they can't,
So I think we maxed ours a few years ago, and
just because you went to the certified rate though.
I didn't.
Well, whoever,
I'm just kidding.
we did as a.
Yeah, we did as a.
The property tax is amazingly I know some about it, it's an amazingly complex calculation and how it works, and I will become more familiar with it, but, okay. Then, so our debt will be paid, our payments will be paid in part of this budget. In past years, I've been budget where we pay a little extra, but with where we sit, I think it's appropriate for us to just pay what we owe in the general fund. And then we have the aquatic center and the streets for the two general fund. And then with the capital projects, this is where the budget, and I want to thank all the staff at Roosevelt City Department heads, because as I said this morning, everybody understands the situation that we're in. And it's not one of those things where you have to try to convince somebody, like, well, we're in a situation that we're in. There are lots of capital projects that were on the list, as a forecast, if you will, capital improvements list. And after speaking with department heads, we're gonna, for example, we're not planning on buying a replacement for a street dump truck. Ryan's mentioned with the water fund too. There's some radios that would help with the meter reads. Just basically said, we'll hold off. One thing about these budgets is if things are better than anticipated, we can also reopen the budget and make adjustments during the course of the year. That's one thing about it. And so with some of the projects, there are some IT improvements, replacement of computers that have to be done. Some of the computers, well, we'll point out these two computers that Carol and Ryan are using are antiquated, to say the least. Those types of things that will have to be replaced. And then the streets, and 100,000 of that streets total is for the gulch. You talked about this one?
Future walking path.
Future walking path. Okay, sorry.
Gulch, whatever.
So that falls under streets.
Yeah, I don't know, is that where it was laid?
That's where it was laid, yes.
Okay.
And is that the 223,000 that we're looking at there?
Well, that would be the 306, but I lumped it together with some additional, chip seal, crack. That's something that has to be done every year. And Kirby told me, I'm gonna look and see if there's things that we can put off.
Can I, and I was going to talk about it today, Ryan, in our meeting with the attorney and Kirby, with Kirby being there. But one of the things that's been in the back of my mind, and I think would be very important for helping us in our budgets with streets in the future. And I don't know to what degree this is being done. Maybe it is being done, so I can just ease my mind. But there's software out there, or there's a way, and I know we're going through the GIS system and marking all the roads and everything else. Hopefully we're marking what condition they're in, where they're at in their life, what they need as far as chip seal, crack seal, overlays, redo overs, whatever it is. So do we have that pretty much dialed in to where we know 2 years, 5 years, 1 year, what the next project should be?
Yeah, we have it color coded, so I can't remember, so. But anyway, it's coded to where the worst roads to the best roads.
Okay.
That just be done and stuff, so they're kind of, it has a plan on it. I don't know if it's a 5-year rotation or whatever, but it is gridded out.
Okay.
So they are, and they also have, you'll see some roads we might neglect, but it's far beyond repair.
So it's just
gonna
be
have to be redone.
Yeah. Which is the most expensive.
Yeah.
And I know in some of the meetings and things that I've been in with DOT and road departments and all that is, if you can, a 25-year road, you can give it and extend the life as long as you're doing proper maintenance on it, things like that. But when it gets to a certain point, it's just
We have a map and a list. If you want, we can.
I just want to make sure that it's there and being done. I don't really care to go into details, as long as it's being taken care of and we're putting those. What I don't want to see is certain sections of town getting touched because of where they're at versus, I just want it to be completely objective, and the ones that need the most attention get the attention when we plan it that way.
And I'd love to see us proceed on schedule for keeping those, because we had a plan, I don't know if it was a 5-year plan or something, to get all the roads in Roosevelt to a certain.
And we didn't have that out. We left that in, right? Correct?
Okay.
There's
Yeah,
some
that's why I don't
projects we
want
left.
that.
Yeah, and that's one thing we talked about and said, no, but it's one of those things, preventative maintenance is a lot better than replacement.
Yes.
So,
And some roads, I think we're on the schedule to be replaced certain years, and I'd like to see those if we can.
State Street next year, but yeah, that would be good.
Yeah.
Just because I've I mean, when we did some street improvements this last year, I got some comments from some people that, you know, they just totally passed over my road, you know, and I know that we categorize them based on damage and things, and that's what I explained to them, but if we don't keep on that track, it just gets worse and worse to the point where we can't catch up. I mean, that's where we're at right now, is we're trying to catch up from years of putting it off, so.
And, yeah, we anticipate, we're going to do our best to do that. And I can talk a little bit later about, well, I'll talk about right now. Other entities are, to balance their budget for this upcoming fiscal year, are tapping into their accumulated earnings. Basically savings like I talked about, those capital project transfers. That is something that the city could do should the need arise. But in preparing the budget, that's something the council could consider, but I didn't think it was appropriate at this point. But if things really are worse than anticipated, then it may be something that we have to do. But the capital projects, if you want to use some of that savings for the upkeep on the roads, that would be a perfect use for that.
I just believe we should stick to the schedule of 5 years.
Yeah, I agree.
Even if it is, cost us a little bit.
Well, we actually have a couple water lines too that might stay on there too as well, because the longer it's just like.
Yeah, exactly.
And one other project, I hate to bring these up because we are in crunch time, but one other thing that had come up in the past, talking about water lines, roads, sewer lines up in North Town, you know, the northeastern part of town was on, you know, they were looking at that as a project that needed to be done, and I don't know how bad that is or where we're at with
With that,
that.
where the sewers run in people's backyards.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
So it's just, there's a lot of, I don't know, that's one in the back of my mind that eventually needs to be looked at and dealt with. I haven't heard a lot of complaints. I think Brian's been doing a really good job keeping everything clean, which has helped quite a bit, but.
so, yeah, anything that you want added, please, I'll make note of it. And
That might be just one of those, maybe we'll look at it and see if that's still a project that's in our radar, and make sure that doesn't get forgotten.
Then in the capital projects, there's $2 million budgeted for the airport, completion of the airport project. And to go to the point of preventative maintenance, Aaron has approached and he's working with a lease company to try to lease 5 new mowers. It'd be $30,000. And he's still in the negotiation process. What he's looking to do is, with that, the lease is to also have the maintenance done on them as well. Spent a lot of money over the last few months on maintaining the mowers at the golf course. So there's $30,000 in there for that. Are there any questions on the capital? Oh, well, any more questions on the capital projects?
The 2 million on the airports, just, you want to explain that?
That's a grant, right?
Yeah, that's 100% FAA grant, yeah, so,
It's listed above during revenue, right?
Yep.
Yeah. That's
so that's just, and the anticipated completion, including all the seeding, I think is this fall, isn't that right, Ryan?
Hopefully by August, we are done with that.
Then the water and sewer funds, they're enterprise funds, so they're allowed to run in a deficit or in positive. And these, I'm not as familiar with them because I came through general revenue primarily. But that's where we have the sewer bonds, the water bonds, those payments come out of the operations for the water projects. And I need to really, I haven't had as much time to sit down with Kirby and Ryan with the water and sewer as I need to, just due to Ryan being so busy with everything else, so.
I have a question. So on our, so we do okay on our water. Like, if you look, our total revenue is 1.9, almost 2 million, and our expense is 1.5 million, basically. So we're doing okay on water. But secondary, we're at a little bit of a loss. And then where is our, well, we haven't seen the sewer yet, but ultimately, so we have our storm drain, which we obviously don't charge for. I mean, that's just storm drain. But we're at, well, so we're budgeting 151,000 loss in all the water for next year.
And that is something that can be done temporarily. It can't be done over a long period of
When is
time.
the last time we, and I hate to even say this, but when is the last time that we raised our water rates?
Was it 12?
I think so.
I think it was 2012.
Do you know what the jump was?
You got me on that one.
Here's my concern. We have a lot of water line, have a lot of storm drain. If we're losing money every year, how do we account for depreciation also? And is that accounted for?
Yeah, there's a specific line item for the culinary water depreciation.
Okay, there it is. So, which is replacement basically our line, but we're still not whole. That may be something I don't want to do. Maybe
Well,
not
and
this year,
once again, I want to definitely reiterate, I have a lot more to learn about the enterprise funds and how they work. I've done my best, but like I came from much more of a general revenue background. And I've been working with the auditor and get some more education on
And
that.
the sewer, I knew the sewer was going to be worse, but I didn't know it's going to be.
Actually, the sewer actually
Oh, no,
is,
150 plus.
Yeah.
Okay.
So why do we lose so much on secondary water?
well, a lot of it is depreciation. And with some of the administrative salaries, a portion of those salaries are charged to the sewer, water, and secondary, and so that brings the cost up. It's not necessarily this is exactly what sewer costs, but you factor in the additional cost of billing and administrative time. That's where.
So there's no one expense category for wages for each department, it just kind of comes out of some of these categories.
Yeah, we have sewer operations, and then there's sewer office wages, for example, is how it's classified differently, but it's just lumped together for these purposes.
I hate to keep asking questions, but one of the things we got asked when we went to CIB is impact fees. Now, I see our connections, so when we sell a connection, we have that fee coming to it. So it looks like we probably sold about 100 connections last year. But that is not, we're not collecting that as an impact fee, are we?
It's not, no, it's collected as a connection fee. And once again, I actually called Ryan Snow and asked him, picking his brain a little bit about that. Impact fees require studies and all those different things. And I talked with John, we talked with John a little bit about that too, about how connection fee does not require some type of a study and impact fee does.
Yeah. Well, the thing about connection fees and impact fees too is impact fees can only be used.
And they're considered a one-time revenue.
Right.
So.
And so I would like, me personally, I think we ought to treat, well, we're under budget. I mean, we're over budget on it. We're not balanced on it anyway, but I was going to say, I'd like to see when we do those connection fees and things like that, making sure that we're stocking those away and treating them almost like impact fees and making sure that we have a little cushion when we have projects that impact our line.
And in the past, those fees have been accounted for and been used, if you will, for maintenance, and well, not necessarily maintenance, but repair and replacement when necessary with brakes and so forth. So that's something that we can get more information on for you too.
Can I comment on his question about secondary water too as well? We do treat that a little different. There's no base rate, which culinary does get a base rate. So secondary is kind of a different animal. We only charge for what they use. And it's only for, 5 to 6 months there. So there's no base rate year round, where culinary has that. So that's the biggest difference between the two of them too, far as what we're billing out.
The difference between it seems like you said it was $1, what, like
Yeah.
25 and $1 or something
Yeah,
between the culinary and the.
and they did that to keep secondary competitive, to where it forced people to use the secondary water and hook up to it and not continue to use the culinary. So it's pretty close, but it's still that.
I know, I just wonder if maybe we need to adjust the culinary a little, I don't know.
Well, I agree with what he's saying. We want them to use the
Secondary.
secondary, but in my mind, it's like, we're not bleaching it, we're not processing it. Why are we losing money on it? Yeah, it should be
Don't we have to buy a certain amount though? Is that part of it?
Yeah,
So if we have more connections, we would make more money, but the connections cost money.
Could you do, well, and people should pay, well, it's a $500 fee per
and most
connection.
of our secondary water is going to the golf course and the park.
Well, and the other thing you gotta realize, well, that's another ball of wax, but would you mind looking into where we would need to be with secondary and maybe even our culinary to break even as far as what we'd have to charge?
Or how many connections? we
Because
have.
I don't think it'd be much at all. It wouldn't be real noticeable, but it would be cumulatively noticeable to get us in the black.
So we called, Randy, how many did we call last month? 4 or 5.
For the CID application.
Yeah, and we're kind of right in the middle of the pack.
In terms of our rates
Our rates,
Okay.
versus cities are similar.
yeah.
And I wouldn't want to raise them a lot. I wouldn't mind, yeah, let's just go ahead. But I mean, if we can tweak it to where it's $1 a month more, or 50 cents a month more, or whatever it is, and we can be in the black, that made me feel a little better.
Hey, what's the current population or percentage of Roosevelt that actually has access to the secondary one?
So there's 750 connections, and we currently have 2,600, almost 2,700 total.
Culinary connections.
Well, not in the city, but that's the system.
Okay, so we're probably about half where we should be, or maybe a little less.
No,
than that.
we're about, we're on 22, 21. It's pretty close to 2,000, a little over 2,000 total city connections
So we're at
For culinary or for
for culinary.
culinary? And
We're a little less than half.
and secondary is,
We're probably at 1/3.
well, we don't want more secondary connections if we're losing money on them.
Well, if you have the, if we're paying for the water, but not, you gotta have the infrastructure there as well, that's a cost. But if we have the water, we're paying for it, and we could be selling it to more customers, then we could be positive, couldn't we? Or is that the infrastructure?
yeah, but you're paying. Like,
I know the infrastructure is expensive.
So here's my thought about spending money as a consumer. Water is something that is consumed and can be adjusted and maintained. We can't not consume our homes. Our homes are there, they exist. So we shouldn't raise the tax, should be very cautious on raising tax rates on anything that we need for survival. Something that we may be using an abundance of, I don't have a problem if, like the mayor said, we make a small adjustment on culinary water to make sure that we stay healthy in all of the water and sewer accounts, because that's something people can, they're not gonna suffer if they wash their car, 5 times less, or they can take a minute shorter shower, or, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm getting to? It's a consumer issue, not a survival comfort issue.
Instead of having really wet, swampy grass, that you have kind of more dry grass.
all right,
Okay, how many people, and they're talking about, how many people go over their basic allotment?
There's not a basic law.
No,
People ever drop you dead.
There's a base
That,
rate.
that changed in 2012. So before 2012, you got your first 8,000 gallons for 20-something dollars. So when we raised it to 30, it started right out of the gate. Your first 8,000 gallons is $1.25. So we did a tier rate, a balloon rate to one, encourage to conserve water. And if they really want that water and they're gonna use it, they're gonna pay for it. And we haven't had any complaints. I mean,
So it's scaled, the
it's
more you
scaled.
use, the more you, the
Yep.
more percentage you pay.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's not fair for big families.
but
Well, I'm not saying anything that would put the hurt on anyone either. I'm just saying just a few tweaks. And maybe we look at some of our expenses. I don't know what our expenses, maybe we look at personnel and just start. I'm just kidding.
Well, and we pay Johnson Water, what is it, $49 a year? I don't know, like, so we budget, so we're paying to get the water that we then resell, a lot of the water that we resell.
What are we paying them for?
the 50 cents per thousand.
Oh, we're paying them, what does that work
So
out
what does
to?
it come to every month?
You said 250,000.
That's what's in the budget to pay for.
No, but that's, how much is it then? I said $200,000 a month.
It's, no, I have to look, I just did get a report the other day and I'm trying to think.
That goes up in the summer.
4,000, probably 4,000 this month.
Doesn't it go up in the summer?
It goes up.
Yeah.
That's for all water usage or what do we?
Just the water usage in their area.
Oh, okay. That makes me feel a little better. I'm thinking 250, like, we were thinking around 20 to 40,000. So if we do 4,000 a month across the board, that's 48,000, which is a little higher than I thought, but it's still.
Well, it's based off usage, so like you said,
We never
it's actually lower right now than it could be with that load shack not running as much, the truck drivers and stuff, so
Yeah.
it's pretty low compared to what it could be.
I know John went over all that really well. I'd like to see how that pans out better. I mean, you were involved with that too.
Yeah, yes, well,
But we had anticipated a thousand a month max is what I'd anticipated for that.
I don't remember what we were hoping it'd be, but.
That's where and then we got their connections, so we got 20,
I think I have it.
and how many connections did we get from them? Was it around 20?
240 or so? Well.
No, in their area, but I mean,
Oh,
we inherited from them.
about 20 to 30.
And then what's the revenue on that? What is our
You got
base
your
rate?
base rate on all that too, so that could be what that could lower that,
What's your base rate?
30.
30? So $600, so $600 a month we're collecting on base rate to offset, which I still, when it's 4,000, it's not. Doesn't make it feel much better, but.
Yeah, and I have looked at the past, and this is just unique time. Water has definitely more than held its own in the past. It's just the nature of the time in which we were.
Well, it's something I don't think we need to react too quickly to, but next year definitely if it's still trending that way.
Absolutely, and I will
Did
find out more.
you, did you also want to mention the secondary? We're doing another 1,500 for next year, right? I meant to ask, so how do we,
So it wouldn't be for this. We won't have it, it'll be next spring. Now that goes right in the middle of the budget, how does that work? I'll have to get quiet on that, but anyway, there's that extra 1,500 acre feet that we.
my question is, you mentioned talking about trying to sell that. How do we do that? I mean,
We need to find whoever's on that ditch and we can release it to farm. We can't sell it, but we can release it to farmers and.
So Clyde has some options, I've already spoken with him, and it's just up to us if we feel comfortable doing that. I just wanna make sure we get enough water for us first. And then
Right,
whatever.
but we're not using the 15 that we have, right?
We're using all but, I mean, last year was 14.9 something.
So we are using-
Before we ran out a week early, so.
So the 1,500 we'll probably get to close to, if not all, based on the hookups we currently have with the secondary.
If we stay at 19 degrees, we'll be, I mean, it all depends on the weather.
Right. But we pay for the full 15, or it'll be 16.5 now, is that? He says 1,500 more, so it'd be 16.5.
Will it be 3,000 acre feet?
Oh,
So another 1,500 on top of the 1,500 we have now.
okay. I was using the wrong digits there, so, okay, so.
Well, and we made that decision as a council, so we had 3,000 total. We were using the 1,500, and then the 1,500 were being leased back or sold back to the state for fish flows. And their contract ended. So that gave us that 1,500 foot. And we were approached by Clyde and asked, does Roosevelt City want to keep that? Or do we want to try to sell it and get rid of it? And we said, we never know what the future's going to bring. We're going to keep it. Even though we're going to have to pay for it out of pocket if we can't find somebody to buy it, we felt that it was important to keep a hold of it.
I agree, we keep it. I mean, as long as we got it, the rate we got it, because you let it go and then try to get it back when you need it.
Or you can't
Be
get
the same.
water. And
So, right, no.
sorry, Kurt.
Oh, no, that's why we had, I'm glad you're here. And then the sanitation, that's just passed through with K&K. We talked a little bit this morning about the contract that Roosevelt City has with K&K, where the city pays for building, those types of things. And we don't get a lot of administrative dollars for that. That contract is good through the end of 2021. And it was mentioned, yes.
A quick question, Randy, of the work that you do and the collections, accounts receivable, and it does, how much of that is, related to K&K sanitation?
Well, all of it. I mean, if you have a late bill, I'm charging you water, sewer, garbage, so I mean, you could probably say I spend equal amount of times on all of it.
So, and you say we are not making enough in that fund
Well,
in revenues?
we're making very little. I don't know what enough would be, but
79,000,
we get $1.50 per can,
And the cans are $19.
Yeah. and that's all we get is the can. We don't get anything with dumpsters.
and that's just is that just the first can to anything?
We do get a little bit for the second.
Oh, we do.
Well, so
But do we bill for the dumpsters?
we do.
Because I have a dumpster.
Well, that kind of depends. If you're inside the city and your dumpster's permanent, then yeah, we bill for it.
Okay.
If you're just getting a temporary, then what you
Well,
want.
I traded it instead of a can. I
Yeah.
have a dumpster.
So you're going straight through them probably.
Maybe. I don't know.
I think, after talking this morning with Dave and just talking about, I think we need to reevaluate that, at least in terms of the administrative. If we're not making enough to cover administrative, we need to, and I'm not trying to take K&K out of business or anything, I just think we need to reevaluate that, because I don't think it's fair for us to do all that and then not have some administrative, whether we have them, get some more from the dumpsters, or, what I'm saying, if there's something that we could look at there, I think would be
So
helpful.
how does it work? Basically, we collect all the revenue, write in a check minus whatever our administrative cost is.
Well, kind of. We collect $1.50 per can,
Yeah,
and that's what we call the administrative fee.
right. But we're collecting everything. So if we're billing 19, whatever.
Yes.
So we're collecting that money. We're taking our $1.50 out of that and paying them all the rest.
Mhm.
So if we get stuck holding the bag, they still have gotten paid, but we haven't.
Exactly,
and then we're out the $19.
exactly.
So I said, I think we need to, and again, I'm nothing against K and K, I'm just saying based on previous, models, I'm sure it's just, that's how they've done it, and I just think we need to reevaluate that, especially, given the work we're doing to administrate it.
Can you give us an idea, maybe at our next meeting, it won't change the budget at all, but I'd just like to know what our delinquent account is like, as far as what percentage or, what dollar amount is delinquent overall with our billing, that type of a utility billing.
We were just talking about that.
Well, I can tell you one thing, it was 6 months ago, it was beautiful. Since the COVID and stuff, and through the winter, we kind of eased off a little bit. And then since COVID came, I haven't really pushed. I haven't done shut-offs, I haven't pushed people. So it may be a little worse now. I know that I cleaned it up, I believe it was 3 months out was the average. I cleaned it up to 2 months out. But then through this COVID thing, I slacked off a little bit.
Well, that's kind of it. I'm just kind of getting an idea of how much, if we pull that out of it, how much are we kind of.
But it's still gonna look a little worse, and regardless, in the normal year, it'll probably look a little worse than the normal, but.
Yeah.
But regardless, we're still paying K and K regardless of,
Exactly.
we're taking so that $1.50 we're keeping isn't gonna cover
A whole lot
a whole lot of those.
It's based on the rate we charge, so on what we charge, whether we collect it or not.
Alright,
So, yeah.
well, and the other thing related to K and K, we also talked about the recycling, Dave and I talked about, and I would entertain them coming to visit with us just to present again and discuss it. I'm not saying we have to accept it, but I just think that if a company's willing to come in, no cost to the city, they're just willing to offer the service and charge, they charge the consumer that wants to pay for the service. I don't see that as an issue personally, but I would like more information because I may not see it all. You know what I'm saying? I may not understand all the nuances.
I agree with that. The thing about that, there was some controversy over that when it came up the last time. I think Dave and I were on the same page with that, but ultimately, if it's no cost to the citizens and it's offering a service, they get to choose whether or not they want to do it. And all the information, there was a lot of information disseminated about why it's good, why it's bad, and everything else. And that's all great. But still, ultimately, I think our job is, my thought is that our job is, as a government, is to give people a choice, educate them, obviously let them be educated on it, but we shouldn't be saying, well, you don't really want that because we don't think it's a good idea. That's not our job.
Well, all I'm asking is I think it would be good for them to come and just present what they're doing, how they're doing it, answer our questions about, what it looks like, what it, feels like, what are people, what we can, and decide. And, and I don't have a problem letting KK come and present their side of things as well, but I would just like, I personally would just like more information, and I'm not a recycler by any means, but I know people are, and people feel good about doing that, and I might be more apt if I knew what was going on with that. And after Dave's discussion, I brought that up this morning, I think it would be good at least to look at. I don't say we have to vote or anything, just look at it and we can make a better decision based on, how, we can talk to our constituents, we can post stuff and find out if people are interested in something like that.
I agree.
Anyway, I don't know how the rest of you feel, but
I would agree with that myself.
I would agree too. I'd like to have them come back and so we could reopen that discussion.
I just think it's good to have that as an option.
Yeah, I've been contacted by many people in the city, and when I talked to Ryan at Recyclops, he said that he's had quite a few people from Roosevelt call him and say, "Well, you come to Roosevelt," and that was the reason why he initially came here. So
I would like to revisit it anyway, so I just brought that up as part of that. And
Will you contact them and see if it's come back?
yeah, I'll talk to you, Ryan, and see if I can get you his information. I'd like to meet with you.
Okay.
And I'd still like to revisit the KK and the administrator, because that concerns me. I feel like they're getting You know, I'm not trying to give them a bad deal, but I think they're getting more of a deal than maybe a normal business would have if we're covering all those administrators.
How does Vernal City work and G&H garbage?
I believe they do this similar to,
Can we get
but I don't know that for certain.
Quinn, though, if we could give Quinn a call?
Yep.
And I don't mind, if you want to call Quinn,
Yep,
I know Quinn, but
Yeah, that's a good idea to check on that, just see how they, you know, how they work that out.
yeah.
Because I don't want to take King Kettle business. I like the Kettles, they're good people, and I think they provide a valuable service, but at the same token, you know, we need to be fair to our people as well.
Yeah. And I think that'd be a good start, just check with them, see how they do it, and if there's any others that are similar, see how they do that and what they collect. That way, it's not just out of the sky, hey, we.
And is that something that's in their contract, our administrative fee, or is our administrative fee just on top of what they charge for a can in the contract?
Well, I'd have to look at the wording of the document. We call it an administrative fee, but what it is we just get $1.50 per can.
Okay.
We charge 19, we pay them $17.50. So in a way, I don't, you know, it's hard to call it, it's classed as an administrative fee, but it doesn't really feel that way. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, we're doing a service for them.
Yeah.
It's not a service for us. I mean, it's really, we're doing a service for them. They could take, yeah, I see what you're saying.
I'm sure they're providing a service for us with the,
Right.
but at the same token, there are costs involved with that, you know.
So they should pay some of that $17.50 fee to us for the collection rather than us charging the citizens out of our, basically it should be in the contract, but since we're
Do they
collecting
charge
for them.
out of the city, let's say it's not with the city, do they have an agreement with the county as well?
They bill directly.
Yeah.
What do they bill directly? I'm
Exactly.
curious.
$20,
How many dollars a can?
How much?
$20 a month.
Oh, wow.
That's what I pay.
$20 a month for your can. So it's cheaper to be a Roosevelt City resident.
So they made.
Of course, that makes sense though, because you're out in no man's land. And so their stops and everything else are,
Yeah.
you know, less frequent. And so either way, that's more costly. So I can understand why.
The way that it's going.
But they're having to deal with the administration there in
Right.
that situation, and they're only charging 20. We're charging 19, and we're only keeping like 50 of it.
Yeah.
So they're getting 17.50 for a route that's pretty close in terms of the city for the most part, right?
Mhm.
And who knows what kind of bodies Carolyn throwing everything.
I don't even use my can.
Man, I gotta quit throwing away all those things that I used to throw away when they come in here. I'm like, oh,
And I don't want
that.
to charge businesses more, but if we don't get anything on the dumpster,
Shoot a deer or something like that.
maybe we need to look at something that way. Instead, I don't know. We don't bill for the dumpsters unless they keep them, right? Isn't that what you said? If they have a dumpster year round, then we
bill for it.
see, and we don't keep $1, do we keep
We
$1?
don't keep anything on that. So
Yeah.
we're basically administering.
That's what I'm saying on mine, you're not getting anything.
Man, I need to switch over to the dumpster.
So, I just had one other, unless there's other discussion on the budget. I
On
just
the
have one
budget?
other- Yeah, I just have one other thing on the budget, and that is, I would really like to dial in our recreation budget. I know with, you know, some of the things, we've got an Arts Parks and Rec Committee now, and that's, so in the next couple of weeks, before we approve the budget, I want to be able to approve a budget that has allocations of money for that committee and others, but we're really gonna have to put together what we're spending. I'd like to see what we're spending overall on recreation between the pool, the golf course, other recreation, fireworks. I mean, they're all kind of everywhere. So I'd like to compile all of that
I can do that definitely.
and get what we're spending and then start seeing how that's being distributed and see if there's a better way and more efficient way. And then also allocating some money directly for the Arts Parks and Rec Committee, the 20,000 that we had agreed to give them, that would be 5,000 for their general budget and then 5,000 apiece for their subcommittees. And that's how they would function for the year. And that would be aside from 4th of July, fireworks, UBIC, all that other stuff, but I still want to see what we're spending on all of that.
And John was doing that, and there's in the detail of budget, he, for example, would have, if a member or a staff member went and mowed the lawn for baseball or soccer, that employee was supposed to charge that time to that particular, yeah.
Great. Well, then maybe we could just sit down, when we have our weekly meeting, maybe you can bring some of that in and we can go over that and then make sure that it's allocated.
And one other thing I would like to mention about, it is budget related, but it's not really budget related, is found out yesterday that the city, well, first, let me give a little background. The state, as part of the CARES Act, COVID relief, was allocated $1.25 billion. And then a portion of that is being allocated to counties and municipalities. This is the way it's termed, the first allocation for Roosevelt City is going to be for just a shade over $206,000. That will have to be spent between now and the end of December. And that can only be used for direct COVID-related costs. So, for example, the plexiglass up at the front, we can be reimbursed for those types of costs. I know the chief mentions you had an officer who was out for a while.
Close to 2 months.
Yeah, those types of costs are anticipated to be covered. They're still writing the rules, so and that way we can be reimbursed for whatever costs we can directly attribute to COVID. And in addition, what a lot of entities are doing with their allocation is they're providing grants to businesses, and even in some cases, utility payment grants to individual residents. And that's just something to, if you would, just to think about in the
Maybe
future.
get caught up on our budget.
We can't, a couple of things. We can't budget for it in this. If you budget for it in your budget, it makes you ineligible.
Well, no, I understand that. But what I'm saying is you contact the people that haven't paid their bill and say, hey, we got a grant for that. Let us help you pay your bill.
And what Vernal, what Vernal City and Naples and Ballard and Uinta County, I think, all told between the three of those 4 entities, 4 or 5, they're getting almost $3 million.
Who is?
Uinta County, Vernal, Naples, Ballard. And they're gonna work together to provide some of these grants. I talked with Quinn yesterday.
What about Duchesne County? What are we getting as a whole?
I believe it's a shade under 900,000. But for example, the CARES Act, Salt Lake County Utah County is getting a direct allocation of $111 million. That's close to, if not more than their overall budget.
Oh my heck.
And that's due to the COVID. But there was some concern, rightfully so, if I may be so bold at the beginning, that you're providing assistance to all these large counties, municipalities. What are you doing for the local entities? And so the state of Utah has stepped up and allocated I think it's about 40% of the total to the.
Because I saw this email that Quinn sent out with his concerns on that we weren't getting our fair share.
So a question in the pool, I was thinking of this morning, we had to shut it down because of, can we use that to read?
I don't think so, because.
But could we use it for the electric from the period that COVID began to the period we reopened the pool? Could we pay the utility bills, all the things that was lost revenue directly related to COVID?
I can find
That
out.
would be, that's a good.
Yeah, because that's what I'm thinking is I don't want to not take some of the money and help the members of the community, but we also have our own expenses that we've lost revenue on, and the pool is the one big one to me that we've lost revenue because we had to close it. We couldn't, and we kept people on working through it. And so I wondered if we would qualify, but I like Vince's idea of looking at the utilities and, anything that we can do that way. I mean, that would help.
It's definitely worth exploring, and where I came from, at the Association of Governments, I started there and we went through the ARA, and one thing that we experienced is we were told certain things, we spent money a certain way, and then they changed the rules after the game had been started. So it was difficult where, well, this is what we were told we could spend the money. Well, no, the rules came out later on and you couldn't spend that. So there may be some strings attached that may not be tied until after we spend the money. So I just.
We just need to be cautious on it.
But I will definitely look into that.
And if it's for the citizens, for, you know, a business or for someone in the community, is that we would have to create some sort of application for that, or, I mean.
It's once again, this is relatively new, so I think my understanding of the CARES Act is it is at the discretion of the municipality or the state. They have a lot of discretion of how that is handled. And I'm going to continue to communicate with Quinn to see how they're handling it in Vernal. But, well, you know, potentially $2 or $3 million is grants. 200,000 doesn't sound like a lot, but I think 200,000 could help a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
Ryan, what about, I'm just thinking, we had to close our doors, we had people pay online, was there any extra cost involved with doing anything different? I know a lot of that was already set up, so.
Yeah, that was probably.
No, I don't think there was much.
Okay.
We had masks made, a few things like that.
But we did send some employees to work from home or go home so we can keep our social distance.
That it's mainly probably gonna have to be if they were sick. Because in the CARES Act, they will pay for up to 6 or 80 hours of sick leave. So
the police officer, we probably can take care of it.
We got police, we got Vicky, we made her stay home.
So yeah.
So maybe Vicky's, we could do that. I'm just trying to think of ways we could use that.
200,000 until December, right? And with the strings attached, it's gonna be a little tricky, but we need to.
Right.
Yeah, I guess it's just something I mentioned now so you can think of, well, you've come up with great ideas, just other things. And once again, that is a first allocation, so there might be additional funding later.
I wish it wasn't, with our redevelopment and what we're wanting to do downtown, I wish it was something that we could put in a fund for grants and build upon in the future, but if we have to spend it, we'll spend it. On
what it needs, yeah, I agree.
I got a great question. We were paying a firm out of DC some, what do you call them? People that, you know.
Oh, I know, grant writers.
Yeah, grant writer. Well, they were basically.
Are they consultants type of thing?
We fired them, kind of.
They're the people that, you know, stay on Capitol Hill and, you know, try to
Lobbyists.
persuade. Lobbyists, yeah. We're paying some money to some of those people to try to get grant money for Roosevelt. How is that panning out? Have we gotten anything yet? Because they guaranteed, didn't they? And we paid.
I think it's close to 50,000.
Yeah, and they said that they were like there was a certain guarantee, wasn't there? Like remember?
That's a Ryan. No.
I think we should contact Ryan about that and find out what.
I can't remember.
Because if we could get some money back on that,
What
for them not delivering, that would be
They're
great.
gonna say they delivered, you got 200,000 in the CARES Act.
So when did we hire our HR?
2 months ago?
Yeah.
Oh, that was February?
5 months ago?
Had COVID started yet?
No.
You're right, it was right at the end of the year. I mean, at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, because that was the first thing we did.
We wrote that off.
Yeah, but she's worth every penny we're paying her. Any other budget questions? I think we went over quite thoroughly. Kurt, thank you for.
I do have
providing it to
two
us.
questions, and this is to everybody in general. What is the next catastrophe system failure that we may have not budgeted for? What's the thing? So in my house, so here's this year. Here's the thing, so my Suburban has $230,000. So every month we put a little extra money aside for the Suburban because I can see that's the next catastrophe. Probably. Is there what is something that, we budget, we have the capital money that's going in, but is there a water line, a single water line system or a single sewer system, or besides the police officer lawsuit thing?
Yeah, we do have like the old transit lines that we've mentioned before, old sewer lines that are on there that we know that are old, so we haven't took them off.
And one of the things that might be helpful is just, and it wouldn't be necessarily directly part of the budget, is just to show everyone our 5-year, 2-year, 1-year.
And I can provide that, definitely, and I can.
Because those are the things that are on that list, the 5-year, 2-year. So we've got the imminent, 1 year that we need to do, the 2-year, and then the 5-year that they're on the radar, but they're not as.
Can you send that, the capital list?
Yep, absolutely.
That's one of his areas too, so.
And maybe we don't even need to bring it up in council meeting, you just send it out to the council, and then if we have any questions, we can bring it up.
Yeah, absolutely, we can work on that. I know you got tons of time.
I was actually working on that this afternoon and I didn't have time to get it ready to give tonight, so I hopefully will have that
We
tomorrow.
have about 5 years.
5 years. Well, we haven't gone to 2025 yet. Once again, that's something that starts in February, and so
And with this year, most of that stuff might.
has been pushed back. But it'll give you an idea of what the plans were before the situation we're in now came about.
So the second question is kind of related to that one. It's like, is there something that we cut out this year that we're just pushing forward next year?
That could get worse.
That could get worse. You know what I mean? If next year's budget, if we lose another 10% and we're just pushing it to next year or 2 years, what are the items that aren't going to continue besides roads? We've already recognized that.
Yeah.
So that's just a question to be
One
thinking
item
about.
as an example that I used in my department is radios. Radios is just the transmitter we put on the meter to read through the tower.
Mhm.
But we're still driving around anyway to pick them up, because they're so expensive. It was $50,000 a year we're doing towards that. We don't need it right now. I can drive around for another year or two, you know what I mean?
But
It's
that
not-
won't cause a system failure.
No,
Okay.
no, it's just keeping us having I don't know, an example, an older iPhone instead of a newer one, but.
And honestly, the things that I mentioned, besides the roads, the sewer up in northeast part of town, those are the hot items that have been already identified, that the type of items that you're talking about, that we will,
The infrastructure is definitely,
yeah.
we're not prolonging that.
Okay.
So our vehicles are in good shape for that, like our police cars and things. We've got what we
We
need.
cut back one vehicle, but with the lease program.
Yeah, we cut back one bit with the lease program. It's basically gonna be a wash, and I know that was sort of the intent. And Chief, had on the list, two replacement vehicles. He said we can get by. So as I said at the beginning, all the department heads and staff understand the situation we're in and doing everything we can, because we talked about this morning about, we don't wanna, I've only been working for the city about 2 months. I feel really close with my coworkers, and it's a great environment to be in. And we're trying to do everything we can to not lose staff.
So I have a question, related to this sort of thing, well, police cars, I know that there's, as far as vehicles and things, there's fleet programs out there for police cars, and I know some people will claim that it's cheaper to go that route, and some people say, like I know our previous city manager believed it would actually, we save money by doing our own fleet program. And I'm just curious if anyone has any feelings on that. Chief, do you think it would be less expensive to do fleet, or I'm just curious what your opinion is on that?
With leases,
Yeah, just,
Vernal City does that, and they like it because they get newer vehicles with newer equipment. I don't think it saves any money in the long run, but they do have better equipment.
okay, so it's a matter of having the best.
But if we're paying the same amount, so it may not save any money, but if we're running newer equipment and newer vehicles, and it's just
We can certainly check. They turn their vehicles in, they come fully equipped, except the radio, which is just a plug-in.
because we own it, right? And then after we're done buying it, then I don't know what we do with the equipment, but then we try to sell the vehicle at the end and we'll have auction or
Ours
whatever.
now.
Yeah.
Can you check in the lease? I'd be curious just to know if it
I
is.
know that our officers would love something like that because
Everybody like it.
Are you thinking just the police department or? the
I'm
whole-
thinking just the police force. I don't know if there's options for the city.
You know, it might not hurt to look at the whole city if we haven't, well, we have plenty of history, I'm sure. If we look at the history and see what our average year expense has been on vehicles, purchases, maintenance, all that other stuff, and look at a lease program. I mean, if we can tell that there's a consistent 20-year history of we're paying 50,000, 100,000 a year towards vehicle purchase and everything else that could be applied to a lease. Well, and it's really an easier way to budget if you do a lease.
And if you compare apples to apples, say it is the same both ways, there's no comparison. You're gonna get better equipment, better cars that way. So if
And the
you
budget, it's easy because you know how many vehicles you have, you know what the lease payments are, you don't have to come up with a $40,000 all of a sudden expenditure.
do they do all the repairs, like if the light stops working or something,
The city does that.
city would
You know, I'm repairs.
Yes.
But
Still on the main.
it's somewhat minimal because
they're keeping.
Newer stuff.
they're not keeping that one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is the insurance anymore? Would it be low because it's newer?
No, probably not a lot.
We go with the government's trust and the insuring things through the government's trust is all I can say is I wish I could insure my personal vehicles through the trust.
Okay.
It's very affordable.
Something we're looking into that. Any other thoughts on the budget? We don't have any other line items below us.
I have 4 things, sorry. Because I wrote, I know, I'm the worst one.
It's not on the agenda.
No, these are easy. First
Go
one,
ahead.
Ryan, last time I came in, you guys talked about the cemetery and getting some sort of cameras. Was that ever, I just curious to follow up on that.
So I need to follow up with Drew because I lent him one that I had and I wanted to see how it worked for him
Okay.
and see.
If you could find, I
I
was
was
just,
trying to catch somebody who keeps stealing stuff off of.
you know, I was talking to my in-laws out in Pleasant Grove and they said people out there are always waiting till the day after Memorial Day, stealing flowers to take pot in their garden or steal stuff. And I thought, that's so sad. I would never have thought to do anything like that, but people do it.
All cam through the cell phone.
I do cameras for Blue Lake, and I have hundreds of them out there. Really cheap. You don't have to have a monthly subscription, and they can send alarms, anything you want.
Are they drug cameras or what kind?
No, they're security cameras, but
They work through cell phone towers or?
you need Wi-Fi, places where you have to have some kind of Wi-Fi connection. But yeah, motion, night vision, they're pretty sweet, and they're really affordable. I mean, much.
Kind of send me something on that.
Yeah.
I was just following up.
Better option on.
Well, with the cemetery, I think they have it down there and the parks do too.
Yeah, where you have your sprinkler controllers already
They're
on
on it.
it, you just add these, it'd be really easy.
I just lent him that one because I was wanting to catch that later.
Well, and I just think people appreciate that we're trying to keep the cemetery clean. We're trying to protect, you know, because people take time to go out and put flowers and stuff. And you guys talked about it. That was the first time I'd ever even, I would have never considered stealing and I didn't even think people did that. And I was shocked. And so that bothered me quite a bit. So I was checking on that. Next question, Kurt, on the computers, I know you said you need new office equipment. I'm great with that. Is there, do we have to go through a certain vendor? How does that process work?
Well, and we have used Spectra in the past to help us purchase equipment. And if I say anything that is incorrect, please correct me. But we were trying to ordering a laptop and Spectra said, why don't you just do it on your own? You can get a lot better deal for that through Amazon. Is that true? Is that true?
That's what they told us.
Well, it depends on what you're getting. I would hope you would get, that's the only thing I was thinking of is I'd make sure you want to get good, you know,
If you
equipment.
need, you guys may know all about those, but if you need any help, like specking out a computer, let me know, because I'd like to
But I just would want to make sure you're getting good stuff, and I didn't know if we had a contract with somebody we had to do work through or not.
So Spectra has a spreadsheet of, the computers are all like the vehicles, right? They all have their dates and mileage on them and stuff. And so there is a rotation there. And we're just looking at the ones that should have been replaced this year that we haven't got to yet.
Can I make a suggestion?
They'll typically advise us what to get.
Because even though this is a dinosaur in here, the one that I have is non-functional completely. So when if we do replace this one, just give me the old piece of crap.
Yeah.
And then put it in my office, because it'll work better than what is in there. So that I can have something in there.
And in certain situations, I think laptops with docking stations are better, but I don't know if in this situation.
Right. Well, laptops, the only problem, I would prefer these, just because I know, not that you guys mean to, but things happen, you take it home or you take it somewhere it gets dropped or what, you're moving from here to an office and so I'm not against laptops, I would just like to make sure they're, solid,
Yeah, if we have just throwing this out there, but if we have a network and everything, we have docking stations, different places, couldn't you plug in the same laptop anywhere? It's just your laptop. And you can plug your laptop into a docking station right there and pull up all your stuff. And, is there a way to do something like that? I wonder, because
I think for the most part there is,
because you're gonna have on your laptop at home at times probably.
If I had this permanent, yes, I would definitely have. Back 6 months ago, I wish I would have went that way. So I can do a lot of stuff at home too, so.
and just with the way our network's set up, and Randy, please, is Spectra has to set up, and so for example, certain software applications maybe have to be on one laptop versus others, so there is some setup that the Spectra handles for us and those types of things. So.
And I did use the finance script laptop, and I absolutely loved it. I took it home a lot.
So
and I'm okay with taking them, as long as people know there's some responsibility.
Teleworking's an option when you have a laptop too.
And I think it'd probably just be certain positions. I'd still like to see one here that stays here, because if we have another meeting and we want to log on, we have a computer there that we can access, that we can do what we need to do, so.
And I'm not against the laptops, I just want, USU, I have a laptop they gave me, but I have to sign a waiver of some kind that if I take it home and, there's some damage or something that I would be responsible for, and I'm not saying they make me pay for necessarily on a computer, but they just want me to be aware. I never take it, I just leave it in my office because I'm home laptop, I can beat up, but I'm good with that. I was just more curious about that. The next, that was 2, so I got 2 more. I'm hurrying. Barbecue.
Yeah.
We talked about that this morning, and for Cody and for Vince, in the past, they used to have a barbecue up at the golf course for the entire staff at City Council. We cook, we get to meet the staff, maybe they're not their families, but maybe their significant other come up and.
Can we do that in conjunction with the golf tournament, like we just did the 9-hole quick?
Yeah, and I don't know if we need to do the golf tournament necessarily.
I do.
Well, I'm not against it, what I'm saying is.
Hardly any cost to that. So.
Yeah.
My focus would be, let's focus on the deal. If you guys want to have the
Do
golf,
you guys like the golf tournament? Like,
I know the guys love it.
do they?
Yeah, because they break out a few hours early and they get to go spend time
Well,
with their
then-
wife.
Anyway, I would bring that up as I think, especially through this and how the city and the people handle things. And I think it would be good for us to be seen by them and for them to, for us to see them and get to know them a little bit and just talk in a more casual setting. I'm fine with the golfing if you want to start a couple hours early. And Jay already said he can barbecue and cook like no other, so,
We certainly prefer that. We liked it when the city council did. We had it catered a couple of times, but the guys didn't like it.
No,
It's my part.
no, I'm okay with cooking. I'm happy to help. I just can't cook as well.
Personal.
how often do you have your department head meeting? Once a month?
Twice a month.
Twice a month? When was this usually held? Was it in the fall, like August, September?
Yeah. End of September-ish.
So we have a few months, from maybe in the next department head meeting, I'll try to be there and we'll see what people would like, what what they like to eat.
Do we do
Those types of things. And
It's baked, so in the past, the council just basically made their,
What they did is they barbecued chicken and steak, and then they ordered potato salad from the grill, rolls from the grill, dessert from the grill.
and made you pick it up.
They didn't make it.
I'll have one of my guys make beans. He makes the best baked beans there are.
So would we want to invite or do something separate for the committees? Because I feel like we ought, as a council,
You know, the Arts Park Rec Committee
I think
and,
we let the committees know that that's an option, and then we maybe have them help plan that.
would they come and just be like city staff and come be a part of it, or would we?
Yeah, I think it'd be great, so.
Because there
I think it'd be good for them to meet the city staff as well, especially if they're trying to plan stuff. So I'm in agreement with
Planning and zoning commission, the other committees, yeah.
all I would like to do is somehow get some sort of RSVP so we get a tentative count. No,
Good luck with
I understand.
Beef is like $20 a pound right now, so work that in our budget, okay?
Just don't order from Omaha Steaks, right?
I'm thinking that Wagyu beef.
Yeah, there you go, the Wagyu beef. Fly the Japanese guy with him.
Okay, what's your last one?
Last one, thank you. I just want to applaud all the work that everyone's been doing. Kurt, I think it's hard to come in like you did, just and jump in and I just, Ryan again and Randy and everybody. I just appreciate the work, and I don't know how to, you know, other than to say, keep saying thank you, how much I appreciate as a citizen of Roosevelt, how hard you guys are working to keep things going. I don't think people have noticed any difference from, you know, before where we had a city manager, now we don't. And I know we're still working on that, but I applaud, you know, and I know we're kind of throwing stuff at you a lot. Like, you know, I ask tons of questions because I have no clue what's going on, and I've learned a lot, and I just appreciate that. Just like when Ryan brought up the barbecue today, I think that's a great idea for us to be able to say thank you for your efforts and get a chance to meet people and talk with them. And I'm okay with the golf if that's what you guys want to do as well. But I think so. Anyway, just that was my last thing.
Cool, thanks, yeah, and I echo those same things. I know we talk on a regular basis. I really think we ought to just keep it how it is, to be honest. Whatever. The administration. Yeah, but anyway, as far as the search and then if anybody, unless there's somebody has something else, we'll go ahead and close. But the search, we've kind of got it narrowed down to 10. We're down to 10 now, and then I need to contact Mercer again, and then we'll narrow it down to probably 4 or 5, and then at that point, we should start seeing those people coming in, interviewing, and doing some of those things. But unless you really wanted, we could just call it all off and just run how we are.
I don't know that we can legally, can we?
Well, there was a small correction. You said now that we don't have a city manager, we
Well,
actually do, and he's doing a great job.
well, no, I didn't mean to say it that way, right? I'm
I know,
sorry.
that's why.
We don't have an official, we have an unofficial city manager, yes, but are we involved in the interview once you get it down? to
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, and what I'd like to do, we'll work with them, and I've been working with Melissa too, just kind of weeding out.
Right.
But what I'd really like to do is not only have the council, but even have a couple of representatives from the committees, obviously have staff that are going to be working with that individual. The council, the mayor and the council make the final decision ultimately.
Right.
But I would really like to take into consideration the points of view from the employees and some of those other people, so that we understand, you know, when that person comes or takes that spot, that they're everybody's on board with it. The public, the staff, you know, we as a council.
Yeah.
I will say I'm concerned because the city has been running so well. Bring somebody in.
That's what did I say like a week ago?
Hey, I'm sorry.
I said the exact same thing. Like, I don't want to mess this up because everything's going just fine.
Well, hopefully if they come in, they're bringing some good ideas and they're good to work with, you know, that's what we want.
Well, and if not, the thing is, I'll be the first to say, if we get to the end of this and it's not the person that is gonna gel with everyone, I say we either restart the search or just say, you know what, we're gonna take some time. We don't have to hire somebody.
Yeah, we've got somebody that could.
We'll just have to.
I mean, it is costing the Roosevelt City to do the search, but we don't have to hire a person if we don't find the person that's.
We're just gonna have to up his medication if he stays in any longer.
Some doctors. And your neighbor's a doctor.
Yeah.
Can help you out.
He's gonna have ulcers the rest of his life.
Probably your other sworn president, when you have an interview with him, just let him know.
Long as you let me get rid of a few things, I'm all right.
No, that's good. Well, do we have a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Okay. All in favor?
I need a second.
Okay, we'll consider ourselves adjourned. Thanks.